In the game of Kenshi, I've discovered a rich lore under the surface, and I do love rich lores, and I could talk about it in depth, but I'd rather not. What I am willing to disclose about this rich lore is that not once has the continent of Kenshi had a civilization that I would describe as good vibes. And the reason? Capitalism. Capitalism in Kenshi can be seen at every turn, but I'd say it's most visible in any territory controlled by the United Cities, where slavery is not only legal, but is a key part of the United Cities' economic strategy. The United Cities relies so much on slave labour, they need to find a way to have a constant stream of new bodies, which is why they have a large industry around the acquisition of new property. It's even illegal to be poor, which means they'll arrest you and inevitably enslave people purely based on the fact that they looked a bit ragged. I've seen the horrors of capitalism in Kenshi, and I won't make the same mistake again. Well, I probably will, but not in this playthrough. And now, with my favourite political ideology out for this community of martial arts enthusiasts, I decide to go ideology hunting. Now with so much on offer, I feel it would be rude not to have a few honourable mentions. Anarchism? Now I'm not saying this one's not got a lot to offer, but theocracy. Now this really could have been the one. We could have been the Catholic Church mixed with the warrior monks. But then I thought what being the Catholic Church actually meant.
Scrub everything! Police can detect even a milligram of common rectal blood.
So, we settled on an old favourite, socialism. And to refine that down, communism. Now over the past 100 years or so, communism has gotten a bad rap. I wonder why. But just like Britney Spears after a breakdown, the comeback is on. We're not only going to learn from the mistakes of our predecessors, one of those mistakes being accidentally becoming fascist dictators, which sounds sad to do, but well, kinda just kept happening. I think the innate problem with communism is that human beings lust for power, and power corrupts, but that couldn't possibly happen to me. I'm British. Now with that ideology set, it was time to set our eyes on our first target, the Holy Nation. Whilst being less capitalist than the United Cities, they are more religiously zealous. So much so that they will kill you if you don't believe in their god, or look different to them in any way. They're also both terrified and infuriated by technology. Because of our fortress's location, the first major target was Okrans' shield. It was the only safe passage to Holy Nation land from the Great Desert region, and therefore would be key to conquering them, as the Black Desert is full of acid rain. Now if you hadn't realised, we're on day 126, which means this isn't the first video, but I can guarantee it will be the best. But if you're like me and you enjoy watching things with context, I've got a playlist for all the videos. But if you're a hardcore raw dogger, I understand. I'll give you a quick rundown. We started with 5, now we have more than 5. Our aim was to build an army of martial arts aficionados, and I'd say we've succeeded. Some of our best warriors can take limbs off with one strike. Now you may be thinking, how did you go about building this army? Oh boy, have I got a story for you. We kidnapped and imprisoned a lot of people until they agreed to join us. That's it. That's the story. Some of them didn't agree. They died. Now in the last video, I made a base in one of the most dangerous areas of Kenshi. But that danger sometimes keeps us safe. It's also killed a few of our boys, but
some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Now it was time to make our way to Holy Nation territory. We were already hostile because they hated our cultural diversity and robotic limbs, and because we'd already preemptively attacked them in the heart of their land, Bad Teeth, in the last video, and took out a whole garrison while we did it. I'd love to give you a detailed play-by-play of our strategic movements throughout the battle, so I will. As dawn broke, we infiltrated the fortress, and once inside, we began our attack. We'd caught the enemy by surprise, and we'd outmatched them in numbers and skill. Like all great generals before me, I pressed attack all. With the strategy portion of the evening over, you can sit back and watch whilst we dismember this Holy Nation stronghold. But since you're here, I'd just like to remind you that vanilla Kenshi, that being Kenshi without mods, wasn't designed for you to have more than 30 people across all of your squads. And obviously, I have more because of a mod, and I'm sure I'll get even more. Now the reason I say this is because sometimes pathfinding, jobs, fights become a little bit buggy. Just to be clear, I still think it's a really good game, but the attack all strat doesn't always work. I've sometimes got to do some micro, which is to be expected. regardless of all that, the battle went as well as I could have hoped, with no deaths, and well, at this point, that's a bonus. Now, I think in this whole series, I've only mentioned the deaths of a few characters, and when I do, it's very nonchalant. He chopped his arm off and he bled out in the water. Unfortunately, it's one of my favourite characters in this game, Beep. Jokes, he's actually a little weasel, and I'm glad he's dead. We lost many men, especially in the last video, when we made our base in Gut, because those big things will just eat you. They'll just eat us, alright? And that's what they did. They ate so many of our men. We lost at least 10 guys, but we move because we kidnapped loads of people since then. So it's fine. And if you played Kenshi, you understand why it's best not to get too attached to any one character. Simply because they can die at any second. But again,
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
let's just say the main thing I've noticed in this playthrough is how OP martial arts are. The speed in which my army is able to dispatch opponents is insane. Unless you consider winning too quickly an issue, you should do a martial arts playthrough too. After the majority of the Holy Nation forces were eliminated, some even fled. I kidnapped some of the Inquisitors, which, to my understanding, are like high officers in their military, and then decided it was best to go back to base to heal our wounds and eat. Once rested, we swiftly moved on to Bilster Hill, the capital of the Holy Nation, home to the Holy Lord Phoenix and his cronies. If we could take out the Holy Lord Phoenix, that would create a power strife within the continent, which is exactly what I need for my plans to progress. I decided that a full assault was necessary, a house-to-house clearing of the city. Because of their religious zealotry, I have no choice to assume that any occupant of this city is a threat and should be treated like one, which I thought was a pretty nice way to describe genocide in Kenshi. Now, we were able to clear the majority of the city, but then we had to enter the Holy Lord Phoenix's throne room. His guards were some of the toughest enemies we've fought yet. The Lord Phoenix was definitely one of the most dangerous enemies. It took our whole army to defeat him. The fight was particularly close because I didn't have my whole force engaging the enemy. I had some of our best still on the way because of pathfinding. But once they arrived, the rest of the enemy fell soon after. And after the fighting was done, I was able to take a step back and realise I probably made a mistake. Coming to the capital so early in the war. Many of our guys lost limbs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, as, you know, robotic limbs, positives, benefits, you know. But two of our best warriors, Daniel-san and Tiz, died during the final fight. Wasn't really ideal, but we move, and move we did. Right back to the base. We were slowed by our injuries sustained in battle, which made us appear an easy target, I think. Fighting raiders now really wasn't an issue, but we were injured. Some of our guys were crippled, and whilst I was on the way back to base, I realised we need more men. Our army was depleted, and we were going to need to match an empire on the field with soldiers. Whilst back at base, we had time to make sure that our workforce was efficient as possible. We also imprisoned the Lord Phoenix and his men. Soon after, we were attacked by a raiding party of Reavers. Oh shit, that's quite a large amount of people. Are they also part of it? Oh my god, they're also part of it. This is a large amount of people. Jesus. My plan was to wait for the big things to pick the enemy off one by one, but they glitched through the first gate and left me no choice but to sally forth. And we did, with much gusto. We cut through the Reaver force like a knife through their heart. They soon reconsidered their foolish plan to attack our stronghold. And do you remember when I told you about the pathfinding issues? I think this is one of them. Now, all of these ragged looking fellows are slaves for the Reaver faction. We just killed their masters, and now they're all one by one going to be eaten alive by beak things. So I set off with fury, with the aim of scouting the United Cities and recruiting more men. I was going to recruit more men, train them up, and then attack the slave trade to weaken the United Cities economy. But then I saw what appeared to be a very large army of Holy Nation warriors heading deep into United Cities territory. This to me seemed like an opportunity. And when opportunity comes in knocking at your door, you gotta step on through, so I decided to gather all of my men and follow the enemy force. As the host of Holy Nation soldiers headed towards Heft, the capital of the United Cities, a plan of sorts appeared in my mind. We would infiltrate the city. We'd been here before. We'd lived here, let's just say. We knew them sandy streets well. Once we got in, we would wait for the Holy Nation to attack, and then we would commence Operation Hide Inside? All one word. Now, as plans go, I thought this one was a good one. We arrived at Heft before the Holy Nation host, and after spending a long time waiting, one finally showed up. One. Literally one. It was at this point that I realised that the whole Holy Nation army had been swallowed by the desert. Multiple war parties destroyed by attrition, sand and sangrias. Now, guess that's what happens when you don't plan very well. Well, it's a good job Operation Hide Inside has a plan B. We really only need to take out the head of the United Cities, a man named Emperor Tengu, who's surrounded by the strongest samurai in the Great Desert region, his own personal royal guard. Not only that, but the military presence in the city was anything but light, and that's why they'd never expect it. We'd fight our way out of the city and then just stay at home and wait for the raids to come. We weren't currently at war with the United Cities, somehow, so we managed to waltz right in the front door. After entering the throne room, we began our surprise attack. At first, because of the elements of surprise, we destroyed the Emperor's personal guard and kidnapped the Emperor. We then continued clearing the rest of the palace until, out of nowhere, a bunch of ninjas appeared. Our men were caught between the ninjas and the samurai. We were outnumbered. We were also spread thin. This allowed our men to be grouped up on, and eventually, all of our men went down, even our best fighters. Maybe this is a lesson in hubris. Yeah, seems like it. This is my fault. I left home undefended and the United States sent an elite raid, which obviously didn't go well for our labourers and farmers. We did have a handful of warriors stationed at Fisthold, but home defence, you know, it's like trying to stab someone with a penknife when they've come in with a machine gun. I did do a quick scan of the injuries that we had sustained during the battle. We had missing limbs, which made escape even harder. Some of our men were imprisoned for crimes against the Republic. United Cities. Maybe I'm just drawing parallels between the attempted arrest of Palpatine and this failed coup. Just like the Jedi, I came here unprepared for the fight ahead, and because of this, multiple of our warriors are dead. Some had been with the army for a while and were very skilled in martial arts, but at least not everyone's dead. We can escape, rebuild, expand. We were hit hardest at home. Our farmers and labourers were essentially slaughtered in their own homes. I guess we'll save cleaning up the rubble for the next video. Thanks for watching to the end. Sorry it took so long to upload, but, well, if you're still here, you may as well subscribe. I've got more videos on the way. Sooner than this one took, promise. Honestly. Swear down. You'd steal from me? Yes, big man, we would. We would steal from all of yous.